It is higher vibrational, and it's in lots of different places. Within our so-called junk DNA, non-coding DNA, one of the layers is our Akashic record. So it's in every cell of our body. Our energy field or macabre field surrounding our body reflects what's there on a cellular level. So it's in our field. The Akashic records aren't just a past life record. They're a dynamic quantum energetic which holds the potentials for future. I think the main thing with Ascension that I think is we're basically stepping out of our human, from being human to becoming our soul selves. And the quantum energy that's coming in, the more you're in your Akashic records, the more, if you're in that energy space and you open it, it does activate the DNA.
Welcome to the Light Dump, Chris Wilson, Aotearoa based author and teacher in how to access and utilize the Akashic Records. Tell us how you became involved with the Akashic realms and the story behind your wonderful book title, From Tragic to Magic.
Gosh, where do I start? So I've been sort of open to spiritual stuff since sort of the late 1990s. And I was sort of merrily, enjoying all that and running a conscious parenting course that I developed and bringing up 3 children with my husband. And then suddenly, my oldest daughter at the age of 18 completely sort of unraveled with very few warning signs and basically had a massive breakdown, which, to cut a long story short, ended up to be huge soul trauma that she'd brought in to this life from other lifetimes and was sort of reenacting, in an attempt to sort of let it go and release and clear it. And but I didn't know all this at the time. I was just absolutely heartbroken. We were at the hospital a lot. She was in the psych ward for 3 years. She was trying to end her life repeatedly. And so it was dreadful, So that was definitely the very tragic part. And uh, the Akashic records kept coming into my head, and I thought somehow I just knew intuitively if I could uh, access them, I'd get some answers because they're the Akashic records are the record of every experience we've ever had as souls on Earth. And I just felt, but I didn't know if you could access them or not. But then I found a method, and I discovered I could. And it just helped me hugely. And it wasn't just to getting that bigger picture on why this was happening to our family. Because the thing is about the Akashic records, you can ask any question that you want. So you open them up and the answers are all in there. So what I did was I journal and just ask all these questions, and I sort of could, I'd ask, how can I help my daughter, and all this stuff. So that helped. But the most important thing was the energy of the Akashic records, which I'm sure I'll talk about a bit later. But it's the same energy that we're moving into as in the process of ascension on Earth. And it's fifth dimensional. And it was just loving and compassionate and comforting and all embracing and just completely calmed my nervous system down. And over the years, so this was in 2010. So it just like my daughter didn't change overnight. It's been, a slow progress with her. But if you look at what she's trying to achieve on a soul level, you can totally understand. So what she's going through, and she's 36 now, so it was a long time ago. And she recently just graduated from university and she's got married and still struggles and finds life hard. And so, yeah, so the magic, I've written another book too, my first book, which is called The Magic of the Akashic Records. And that talks more about, the journey that we went on with my daughter. And it was really healing to write it actually. So I've had a lot of clients as well who let me share their stories. So
Nice.
what I try to do is just sort of teach in that way as well. So I know, so it was pretty horrific, and I know that a lot of you listening um and I know you, Susie, you've been through challenges, human
Yes.
challenges, and that seems to be part of the course.
Mm.
You go through something and it's like horrendous, but this lifetime is so important for us because we're ascending. So we're leaving, all that suffering of third dimensional human life behind. And if we've had many, many Earth lifetimes, like I believe I have, been here a long time, there's so much to shift. Like they talk about the shift, but there's just so much. There's layers of suffering. There's layers of fear, layers of trauma, limiting programming. It's so now's the time that we have to do it. So what a lot of us have chosen to do in this lifetime, we've chosen really difficult experiences on a human level to sort of bring us to our knees in a way, but also to help us wake up. And like our whole family went through hell. And I think the person that went through hell, the greatest hell, was my daughter. But we've come through it, and we're completely transformed. And we're all sort of now starting to live our missions, and because we
Wow.
choose these experiences they really set us up for what we're here to do. And it's important in this lifetime, like we've got free choice as human beings. We don't necessarily have to stick to the plan. And I know I've had many lifetimes where I haven't stuck to the plan. But it's we set things up so that, we have that opportunity.
Hmm.
It's
On reflection, does your daughter, does she think back and did she notice a change in you once the
Oh no, definitely. I got to the point, and I talked to a mother in the weekend at an event I did who was very upset about her children. I got to the point of thinking, well, I can't change her. She wasn't interested in all the spiritual stuff. It wasn't her thing. She's getting more open to it now. She now says she believes in it. But that's okay. Like, when your children get unwell, you pull out all the stops to help them.
Yeah.
You try to fix them, and my husband's a coach, and we did everything, but none of that really worked. And what I realized is that our children are all on their own soul pathway and
Hmm.
their own journey. And I knew what my contract was because I went into the Akashic Records and got the information. And it was just really to support her. But I knew it was important for me not to put my life on hold as well and just take advantage of, the beauty, the pathway that her illness had opened up for me. And as I sort of walked further on that pathway and got more happier and more passionate, and my vibration increased because I was in this energy all the time. It has helped her
Hmm.
too. And that's the thing about the quantum world, and you'd know that. Like anything we do for
Hmm.
ourselves is helping everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
any healing, anything we do for ourselves is helping those that are closely energetically connected, like our families and extended families. And yeah,
It's interesting. We were just talking about the quantum world, and the quantum theory is, really only coming into the awareness of many now. And that and quantum entanglement is
yeah,
so powerful. And
mm,
it really does make you go, oh, your role is with yourself to do the best by yourself to help everyone else, which is not something we would grew up with. That's not a concept we particularly grew up with. So it's a real unraveling of that and
mm.
remembering of who that we are mycelium of sort in the world,
We do have to bring everything back to us, but not in a
Yeah.
sort of egotistical way
No, no.
or self-centered way.
Yeah.
It's more, and particularly, once you get out as a teacher and a healer, it's more important to do your inner work.
Mm.
And so my darling daughter triggered a lot, actually. It was like major. And it was good though. Like at the time, it wasn't very good, but looking back, it was fantastic. And, she was a catalyst to bring up so much in a very intense, quite rapid way.
Yeah.
That had I'd gathered up, from the suffering of many lifetimes, and I'd been a victim, so many lifetimes of victimhood that, I feel like I've let go of that, So, so it was all on a soul level. I chose it, and on a soul level, it was necessary for me to do the work that I'm doing now, which I absolutely love.
From what I understand of the Akashic Records, if somebody's never heard of it before, they're an ancient spiritual concept, shall we say, or a realm, often described as a metaphysical library, if you like,
Yeah, yeah,
for want of a better analogy, that
yeah.
holds all the knowledge in the universe and every soul thought, emotion, experience throughout time. And that's with this life and with past as well. Can you unpack that a little bit? Is it a spiritual realm? Is it a
Well,
place?
it sort of is. It's hard to explain in a way, but it really is like a library because
Mm,
it's wisdom and knowledge there. It's like a record, and it is higher vibrational. And it's in lots of different places. within our so-called junk DNA, which I don't like to call junk, 'cause
No.
it's not junk, non-coding DNA, one of the layers is our Akashic record. So it's in every cell of our body.
Oh.
Our energy field or macabre field surrounding our body reflects what's there on a cellular level. So it's in our field. And a lot of people that take my classes to learn, they're healers and they're working with people in their body work and healing. They actually get information from their energy fields about past lives or, you know, Akashic information. When I teach my classes, I take my students to a place on the other side of the veil. It's called the Hall of Records, which is like the soul library, and they go there. The Akashic records I teach my students about is that of planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
There is another library called the Halls of Amenti, which actually, if all of us since what they call the cosmic moment on the 21st of December 2012, records have actually been there as well. But also
Wow.
all our galactic records are there. And I
Ah,
access them quite a lot for clients because I just have clients and I know they need, I have to tell them about, not just their lifetimes on Earth, but what happened before then and other things. And the Akashic records aren't just a past life record, you know. They're a dynamic quantum energetic which holds the potentials for future. So you can look at future potentials, but because the energy on Earth is more, it's not so static as it used to be in 3D.
mm,
It's sort of hard to say, well, this will happen, on the 4th of July, this will happen to you, sort of thing. You can't sort of set things in stone. And the other reason is we're creating our reality now through just all our thoughts all the time. So, but you can look at potentials, like things come up and there's possibilities, but things are changing, as you know, so rapidly now. And we
yeah,
basically are
yeah.
totally responsible for our lives, and we will be in the future, and that's part of Ascension. I think the main thing with Ascension that I think is we're basically stepping out of from being human to becoming our soul selves, and we're
Mm,
stepping into our soul
mm,
magnificence and glory and attributes.
mm.
The quantum energy that's coming in, the more you're in your Akashic records, the more, if you're in that energy space and you open it, it does activate the DNA.
Ah,
So that DNA is activating because, it used to, scientists called it junk because they said 98.2% of it does nothing. And it was only that it couldn't express itself in a lower vibrational planet. But
right.
now I believe it's up to about 38% is activated, and I
Wow.
think a lot of the children coming in are just coming in with a higher activated different abilities. So it's sort of
Yeah.
Ascension's really the key to our multi-dimensional selves, but the Akashic records can be a brilliant tool,
Well,
for
I didn't
you.
quite realize that. I'd never thought about the idea of it being within us in our DNA, but of course, that makes sense. So, um, it feels very accessible and very necessary then, in many ways, for us to be in the know. Is it a blueprint? Is it something that can be changed?
Oh God, absolutely, absolutely. So I facilitate a lot of healing in the Akashic records, and I teach like my level 3 practitioner students how to do that. And in the level 2 course, I sort of allude to it. Oh no, because of quantum entanglement and because the Akashic records are not in linear time,
Mm.
and because one of the most exciting attributes of quantum energy, which is in the Akashic records, is that it responds directly to our intention. The healing potentials are huge. And what I always do is with a client, I encapsulate what we're trying to achieve in like an intention statement and get their agreement. And when they read it out. And it's like the energy of the Akasha, the quantum energy that's on the earth and also in that healing container space, organizes itself to sort of uh, fulfill that intention.
Come
But you can
into
go back,
alignment. Yeah.
yeah, but you can go
Yeah.
backwards and forwards in time. And there's a technique called retrocausality,
Mm.
where, say, for example, someone, say, like my daughter, is suffering from past life trauma,
Mm.
which is sort of, impacting their current lifetime, because we have to let all that heavy vibrational stuff go. What you can do is you can go into the Akashic Records, and often there's a lifetime, a past life self that sort of steps up and is still very traumatized from something that happened a long time ago and is not at peace. And there's various techniques you can use, and I think the main one I use is I get my client to sort of talk to this past life self, or sometimes there's a whole group of them that have been silenced or persecuted, or and you bring in the whole
Mm.
group and you talk to them, and you talk to them until they come to a place of peace and understanding, and when all those aspects, soul aspects, are at peace, then you can ask them for help. But the other thing you can do, the retro causality thing, is you can actually go back before
Mm.
that traumatic incident in the past life and just create a whole different ending to the story. And say, you're suffering from severe ankle pain in this life, and it turns out to be connected to a lifetime where you were sort of captured as a slave and sort of shackled in the hold of a
Right.
ship. You can see the person saying, "Well, I'm roaming in Africa, and the slave traders are coming, but I escape, and I'm safe." And so you can do that. And the books actually are full of examples. There's so many stories. This is tragic to magic here, because I had a lot of clients who've let me share their stories. So
Mm.
they're absolutely full of all these things. And the thing is, when I give a session, I can't really remember what I've done. Like the next day, it's
Mm.
like, oh, I'll have a vague memory of the person. But that to me is sort of telling me that it's working.
Mm.
But I have good examples. Like one
Mm.
example was a man who's in a sort of really professional type job, and he should sort of be earning like a really good living, but he had to sell his house. I tell this one quite a lot, but he had to sell his house because he couldn't sort of keep up the mortgage payments. And he said, "Look, I work really hard, but when it comes to sending out my bills, and charging, I just never charge enough." And he said, "I've just got this belief that if I ask for too much, something terrible will happen. If I ask
Mm.
for too much, something terrible will happen." So that was past life. That was World War II. And this man had been a rabbi in that life, and his job was to sort of look at all the deportation. Interesting word
Mm.
that at the moment, isn't it?
Mm.
The
Mm.
deportation list, and sort of check off who was going to go get sort of sent off to,
Wow.
to camps. And he sort of saw some families and people from his village on the list, and he wanted them taken off. And he went in and he said, "Please, remove these people." And the secret police, the Gestapo, were like so outraged that they added all these people on, and yeah. So he was very traumatized, and he got sent off too, I think, and he was still carrying that trauma from the end of that life, because if trauma isn't processed at the end of a life, we bring it into the next one. And a lot of clients I've had, and this was my daughter's issue too. World War Two's got a lot to answer for. And
Mm.
I have to say the concentration camps keep coming up, and
Mm.
that's where I was, and I was haunted by the whole Holocaust thing. I
Mm.
write about it in my book, and
Mm.
I was in a position where I could have helped people more there, and I didn't, and so and so this lifetime I came in feeling quite unworthy, and I was so angry at myself, and had, as a child, and so it's a bit of a redemption story with me. I'm trying to
T-
make up. I think I am.
I think you're doing really, really well. Just want to say, actually, you're helping so many people at a time where we're having to grasp really big concepts actually that go quite far outside our indoctrined brains. Tell me, when you tell a story like the chap who who was in World War Two, are you seeing it as a vision? Is he seeing it as a vision?
Oh,
How is it coming through?
well, I see it.
Okay,
And I was not someone that I thought could see things. I have people in my workshops. There was a man there. I gave a talk the other night, and he said, "Oh, the archangels were at the back." And I thought, "Oh, were they?" Because
right.
but it's like sort of a third eye thing.
Hmm.
Like I just sort of get little pieces, and I just saw him, and then I get the words, and it's like a puzzle that you piece together. But I have students in my classes that see it like a movie, like they can see it much more clearly than I do. And some can't see anything, but they get the information, they can sense it. And I'm going to take you, everyone who's watching this, through a little exercise later, and I will ask you to sort of bring in a past life aspect of you. And some of you will see the person, and some of you won't. But if you can't sort of get that concept, that vision in your third eye, or don't worry, just try to connect with the energy that's there. Because a lot of us, some can see, some can't. We've all got different abilities.
Mm,
But I can do it. Like I see past lives and I just pass on the information. It's usually like lifetimes that are really relevant to what the clients is happening now. And they say, I'm going through that now, the same thing. And,
yeah.
and sometimes they're going through it with the same people, but they're obviously in a different body. And calm is something that's getting cleared, this in this lifetime, because that's like lower vibrational energy, and it's, you know, in the third dimensional Earth, there's a lot of competition. We've all been guilty of it. And I think that's why I've had to come back again and again and again and again, because we sort of got trapped in this holding pattern of creating karma and then having to come back to clear it. And
Mm,
but the little children coming in now, the new souls that to Earth haven't got it. And
wow.
we're all part of what we're doing in this lifetime is clearing it. So a lot of us have got karmic people, particularly in our families. So we've chosen to have them as our parents, our siblings, you know, what,
Amazing.
because that's if they're in your family, you can't really avoid them.
Yeah.
So so yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
I think it's really interesting that we use phrases like past life. We've got this lineal take on
mm,
time, which of course is not quite correct on the other
mm.
side.
No.
So we're always applying this past and present and future in a
Mm,
way, and which is, I visualize it along that way, past over here, future here, we're in the middle here. But I've heard it described, and this resonates quite a lot with me, as if we were a deck of cards, and it's going up that way,
mm.
and and everything is actually in a parallel time right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that correct?
No, that's correct. And
Yeah.
I talk about past lives, but in both of my books at the start, I say they're not past. They're
Yeah.
happening at the same time. And, fifth dimensional energy, quantum energy is not linear.
Mm.
It's basically, so everything's all happening. So on some level, all those past life aspects of us that are out there, or so-called past life aspects of us that are out there, are there. And that's what makes it easy to access them. I talked to one this morning, makes me she turned out, I said, I want to, because I was sort of practicing the little exercise that I want to take people through, and I thought, I'll just connect with a past life self who had huge self-belief. Well, I had to go back a long way, and I went back to Lemuria, and she was helpful. So now she's sort of here helping me, and you know,
Wow.
I brought her energy in, and she'll, I know she exists now, so I can bring her in any time. But we've all had, I talk about the suffering of, the horrible things that have happened, but we have had lifetimes with amazing abilities and gifts that we can bring in to help us now. And we can travel across, we can traverse time and bring those in. And that's what I try to do for people in the sessions as well, to connect with those. And every single client session is different because, we're all different. Sometimes people need
Mm.
a bit of inner child healing, which I do. But I encourage everybody, particularly if you're light workers, to do that. You can't
Yeah.
ignore your inner child from
Yeah.
this lifetime.
Mm.
And there's ancestral healing. There's all sorts of things. And sometimes I find myself doing things, and even I'm sort of this part of me looking on, thinking this is so weird, but you just have to go with it. And all my students sort of do things in their own unique little way and some of them bring in other modalities, and there's no one size fits all, but um, it's quite amazing. So we're all sort of different what we can bring to the mix. It's a beautiful quantum gateway, which makes it easier to connect with beings of light, in that space. So you can bring them in to help. And it's a really good place also for physical healing. It's not just emotional healing and trauma healing. The Akashic Records, you can often, like a physical pain has got some connection with maybe being stabbed in the back or and
Something.
that
Yeah.
physical pain. A lot of us are going through that at the moment because our bodies are actually changing from they're carrying much more light, so they're changing from carbon-based to crystalline.
Mm.
And we're all going through this recalibration and just becoming literally, beings of light ourselves. And, sometimes when our bodies are remembering past life pain, like it's really think, oh God, I've got this really sore leg, but it's moving through, like it usually is just something that's sort of moving through. And often these little physical ailments they call them ascension symptoms, but sometimes they're triggered, by emotions that we are feeling that are similar to perhaps something we felt in another lifetime or soul experience that we need to, let go of.
Do you think, Chris, that this horrible cold flu thing? I mean, I've been choosing to look at it as an upgrade for the last
Yeah,
couple of weeks
yeah, yeah.
because it won't well, it's not quite left me yet. It's not. It's on its way out. I can feel it's on its
Well,
way. But is it there? And I
yeah,
sort
I
of think
think
it
so.
might
I
be.
recently had
Yeah,
one and I
yeah.
just feel fantastic now.
Mm,
I had one and it was funny because I knew I had to have a little break between classes because usually I just do them, and I thought, no, I need to have those weeks off. And it's always the way off. And then I ended up losing my voice,
right.
which was related to a whole lot of lifetimes where I've been sort of shut down, silenced. And, I saw this parade of past life selves that had their throats cut, and they'd been hung and they'd been strangled and they'd had their heads chopped off and they'd been. And
Wow.
anyway, I talked to all them and they're all good now. They're all at peace and they're helping me because I can be a mouthpiece for them now. It's not going to happen to me. And so it's fantastic. And anyway, I went through just feeling exhausted, and it's not like me, but I just, you have to go with it. And I just went to bed, and now keep getting told you it's a reset, and it got so bad that I reached out to my Facebook community because I was worried about the losing my voice, and I
Mm,
just got all this healing. I'm not very good at asking for help, but I
mm.
asked for it, and I said I just need some healing. So I'd just lie in bed. I could feel it all coming at me, and I felt like it was had to happen quickly and intensely, and I feel that all the effort, all the lovely healing that I received, helped me do that. So now I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders again.
Yay. Yay, go you. And do you feel now the presence of all those entities around you much more tangibly than perhaps you once did?
Oh,
I
oh no,
Is it a
God, yeah.
crowded room back there?
Oh no, God, yeah. Oh no, God, yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I don't talk to dead people, but I feel them. I feel my mother around me. I mean, just being in that fifth dimensional space, it's easier for them. And
Mm,
I can feel the energies. There's often like I feel them stroking my head and but some people can sort of see them and I don't mind not being able to see them. And but I definitely feel them and I know they're there and I ask them for help. And they're helping. And I also ask my soul for help now because my soul sort of stepped in and it's sort of taking over and it makes life a lot easier, really. You can delegate a lot to your soul and you know that your soul's you just let it go. It'll find a really creative solution to anything, but you don't. So that's probably the biggest gift of the Akashic Records for me is that over time, I've been able to get much more in here,
mm.
and just every time I have given a session to somebody, and I've given thousands. I'm trying to stop giving them, but I keep getting demand.
I think
So,
I'm going to be booking in.
uh,
Sorry.
but every but I do teach classes. I'd much rather teach people how to do this for themselves. Because it's not just me that can do this, it's everybody. We've all got this ability. And some of my students are very, most of them are very skilled at it and they're amazed. They've got these abilities. And so I sort of teach them a method for accessing them. And so I'd rather teach people how to do it for themselves. But every time I do give a session, like I'm benefiting as well. So it just helped me heal, from all the heartache and just my child, everything. It was just such a beautiful healing energy. And you often get clients who are, I'm sort of telling them things that are coming to say, and I think, oh yeah, I need to hear this. It's like, because it's like I'm talking to myself as well. So the beautiful thing about quantum energy, it's the gift that keeps on giving. because it's sort of altruistic and anything you put out, you do get back. And it's not just a one-way process. And so just having been in that energy and working with so many people has been a huge benefit for me.
Mm,
So it started off 2010 when I was desperate, and it's quite a few years now.
mm,
But
mm,
if all of you listening to this, if you think back just 3 years, 5 years, sometimes you think you're sort of stuck and nothing's happening. If you look at the person you used to be, and the person that you are now, just pat yourself on the back, you know, because it's incredible how we're all evolving
mm.
and the changes and the positive changes, and that's what needs to happen, for everyone on the planet. And it's, if we can all just do our bit I think it's helping everybody, because what we're trying to move towards in Ascension is unity, of course. So, but first of all, the shift has to happen. There's a lot we have to shift within ourselves, and the Akashic Record is one tool, really one tool to help with that, because it works on a soul level, and I don't think healing or change can really take place long lasting, in a long
Mm.
lasting way without bringing the soul into the mix. It's got to happen on that soul level.
Is there a slight hierarchy there? Is our higher self and then there's our soul self? Is that right? Or
Gosh, well, I don't know. Like we're very sort of linear. We like to sort of,
yeah, yeah,
people talk about the superconscious self,
yeah,
which when I asked about that in the Akashic Records for my book, I'll put it in here.
mm,
Um, it just sort of said it's sort of like all the higher selves across time all joined together.
okay.
But yeah, our soul's so multidimensional, because that's another whole. I'm learning more about the soul at the moment, and I think I'm going to be teaching classes about the soul. Because honestly, if you live, if you just let your soul step in, and you can have that human self just step to one side, it makes life so much easier. And that's what we all want. We don't want to suffer anymore, and we don't deserve to. And, that's the beauty of, that's really what we've got to look forward to.
Once you've looked into your Akashic records, you've given the guidance, assistance, if you like, or knowledge, and you now know. And when you know, you can't not know, which I quite love.
Yeah.
But is there a level of trust in that too? So So really what I'm asking is we tend to feel something quite tangibly, then we fall off the wagon, if you like, and we go back into that old pattern quite quickly. And then we have to get back into the high vibration of what we do know. And it feels like a wave that we do. Is there the ability to go, oh, okay, and then plateau there?
Oh, definitely, because I think our journeys are all different. They're all different.
Yeah,
And some people you can look and it's like they're going like this,
right.
and that's fine. But a lot of them, there's all sorts of different souls on Earth at the moment. There's the old souls that have been here for eons and have got, a lot of layers of suffering to work with. But the thing about, and I'm one of those, but the thing about us is we've got that wisdom of human experience.
Mm,
What happened after 1987, which was the harmonic convergence, is so much light came in. It was obvious that ascension was a happening thing, because before that it wasn't a definite thing that would happen. We were all set, we could have destroyed ourselves, and we were lined up to do that. But a lot of souls sort of then answered the call, to come to Earth. And they're different. A lot of them are galactic. Some of them haven't had so-called Earth lifetimes before, and a lot of them are, yeah, quite young and just feeling homesick, and a lot of them are neuro
mm,
divergent, and
mm,
have had labels slapped on them. But that's a whole other area of discussion. So, we've all got a different soul. We can't really compare, because everyone's pathway is sort of perfect for them. But
mm,
what the Akashic Records have helped me with is just trusting.
mm.
When you give a lot of readings for people and they say it resonates and it helps them, you just keep doing it. Like I wouldn't be doing this. I would have been back in the classroom teaching history, which is what I used to do.
Mm,
Which was interesting, because I trained in history and I had no idea, MA, and I had no idea I was going to teach soul history,
Yeah, that's
but
a
it fits
really
in
beautiful
perfect.
progression. I love
I
that.
know, I love that. And even more, like I've connected with the future life aspect of me in the future, like in about 200 years' time. And he sort of came and he looked really androgynous. I don't know if he was male or female. So I think we're getting more androgynous. And he was a history teacher too. I thought, well, God, I love that. You know, I'm still teaching history in the and he's teaching about the history, the barbaric planet that Earth used to be.
Which is now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm so sorry for you. He was like, oh God, you're going through hell. And I'm like, well, my life's got a lot better actually lately. It's not that bad. He said, oh no, it's awful. You know, you're killing, people on Earth are killing each other. And
I know.
it was quite funny. Anyway, he was lovely. I love him. But he's right there. Look, if I want to connect with him, I can just close my eyes and have a bit of a chat. But what was good with him is that he was so evolved, you know, and he was ascended, fully ascended. So I could pull in some of his energy, you know, to give me a little boost.
And can you tangibly feel it when you do?
Yeah, I do. You know, you can pull in
Mm,
the energy of anything you want. You know, you can ask for a
mm,
past life aspect that had humility, say you're wanting to, and just, you know, you might see yourself sort of living a very humble life and then pull in that, give them a hug, you can pull that energy in. And you can ask them for help. So I teach people how
mm.
to access the Akashic Records, and they say something called an access intention. But for those of you who are watching this who don't know how to, haven't got a method, you can still do it.
Shall we do it?
Yeah. Do you want me to
Let's do
do
it.
a little thing?
Yeah.
So what I'm
Yeah.
going to do, when I teach people how to access the Akashic Records, the words of the access intention I teach are very like they're sort of channel, but they're important.
Hmm.
So if you want to just go, I ask that my Akashic record be open, it's probably not going to be quite the same. So I wouldn't really advise that. But having said that, there's lots of teachers around and there's different teachers for resonate with different people. But for the purposes of this exercise, because we're in this energy that we're in today with Susie and on this podcast, I'm just going to get all of you who are listening to this and watching this to in your mind, like if you give me permission to say, I give Chris Wilson permission to open my Akashic record for the purposes of this exercise. So just say that. And if you don't give permission, that's fine too.
Hmm.
So if you just keep your eyes closed, and I ask that the Akashic records of all those who have given their permission now be opened. So just breathe in deeply and breathe out and take another deep breath and breathe out. And I want you to think of one quality or one attribute you would like to have that would help you in your life right now. And it may be courage, resilience, compassion, humility, joy, tolerance, self love, self belief, self trust, or leadership, teaching, or creative abilities. It could be the ability to love others unconditionally or to create abundance in your life or anything else. So just go with the first thing that pops up, the first quality or attribute, and focus on this. And now silently in your mind, Ask to be shown a lifetime where you had this quality or attribute. See yourself or feel yourself as you were in that lifetime. Pull in the energy. Pull the energy of this quality or attribute into your body. Now imagine that you are holding the hands, and looking into the eyes of this other soul aspect of you. Pull in the energy of the quality or attribute that they represent. And silently in your mind, ask them for any help you need right now to embody this attribute or quality. Listen carefully to anything they have to say to you. And now give your past life self a hug and pull their energy and strength into your body. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into your rooms. So I'll close the Akashic Records now. So I ask that the Akashic Records of all those listening to this who gave their permission now be open, now be closed. It is done.
Wow.
So that's, did you see anything?
I did. I did. I did. I saw a version of me, not unlike me now, really.
Mm.
If I, but living a different life, the life I would probably, that I was wanting, asking for. It was interesting what she said was, you are me, we are we.
Oh,
You are me, we are we.
Mm,
Yeah. So there's no distance, is what I took from that.
mm. A lot of those aspects of us are so excited, you
Yeah.
know, because they're celebrating.
Mm,
Because we're living in a time, so many of them, they didn't feel they reached their potential.
mm,
They didn't fulfill their missions. Those that carried the light, particularly in dark times, were squashed, or, a lot of
yeah.
us have been killed or silenced or just, you know what I mean? And, here we are. We're finally at this beautiful time on earth, the time of
Mm.
ascension, and they're all sort of really cheering us on to fulfill our missions. And we can ask them for help and support. So
I
there's a lot
love
of,
the I love the idea of a team. We've got
let's
a
take they're
team.
part of our team, and they're within us. Because so often we
Mm,
think, we pray and ask, oh God, but we are, it's all there, it's all within us, But there are, there's beings of light that are helping us a lot at the moment too. We've all got a vested interest in just creating a new world order and a new. The thing that's sort of happening now is it's easier for us to connect with pure source energy.
mm.
And I feel like my work in the records and time and the records has helped me go to that, that level of being able to access source and bring through information. And I know that you channel,
Mm.
it's that sort of process of because ascension really is we will all return to source and we'll all be united. It's quite hard to understand the concept of multidimensionality, but I think, when I think back to what I believed 5 years ago, it's just sort of slowly, changing and yeah,
Yeah.
can't
And
happen overnight in terms of our belief systems. Yeah.
we do accept when we go to sleep at night, we dream.
Mm.
And those dreams can be really powerful. And in the dream, we're there is nothing unreal about it. And we accept that. Everyone has
Exactly.
probably had that experience. So it's not, to me, it feels not unlike that. If you just accept that that is potentially a parallel life that you just tapped into, or a moment, or then all of the Maya that we experience here is that.
Well, one of my favorite teachers who I met last year in Arizona, Patricia Roble, she says planet Earth is the least real of all the dimensions our soul exists in. But while we're here, there's a lot of reasons why we're here. It is an interesting planet Earth is very different from other star systems. It's special. It is special, but it's tough, and the energy's shifting so rapidly now. It's incredible.
The rapidness is really tangible, I feel. And also the awakening to the idea, there's some horrors happening in the world right now, right this minute, but they're there for our ascension. And that's quite hard for people to get their head around. I do know that. And but that eagle eye view, which you got actually when you were pushed with your daughter and had to step up and get the overview to be able to perceive what this is all about, really.
Well, the Akashic Records
You
help
know,
you see the big picture.
yeah.
And you can ask any question. You can ask, why are the people on Earth that are causing
Mm,
suffering for so many? And you can get an answer. And what can
yeah.
I do? What's my role? How can I? The thing is not to get caught up, as we know, in the fear or the drama or judgment, or because I think any of us, as souls on Earth and bodies, we're all doing our best. We're all doing our best at any given time. And if
Uh,
you look at the soul history of somebody, you can understand why they're like they are now. I think that this going a bit off the topic here.
hmm.
I do feel there's a group of souls that are back, and they've been along, like they've been in Atlantis, they've been in Rome, they were around in Nazi Germany, and they're now back. But the news is in this fifth dimensional bright vibration, you know, the outcome is going to be different this time. So we
For
just have,
them.
yeah, we have to stay
Yay.
strong and just speak our truth, live our truth, learn to love ourselves, and
Mm,
just
mm.
open our hearts to everyone around us. And if you just try and do that every day and be the best version of yourself, you really are making a huge difference and helping. You know.
And life will start to fall into a flow too, do you think? With that vibration, with that state of being comes of greater
Oh no,
peace.
it does, and you don't sort of get triggered by, you sort of
Yeah.
some of these bad boys. It's like, oh my God, sort of roll your eyes, not again. But what I've decided lately is just sending them love. I think so, and not everyone can do that, but what I try to do is just send them love because I think this they're very fearful because on a
Mm,
soul level, a lot of them have been hanging on. They've been in power
mm.
over many lifetimes and they're sort of just hanging on, hanging on. They don't want to lose this. But they have got hearts, and I think if you send them love, there might be a chance of, that some of that filtering through. I think if you send them judgment and anger and, you know, it's going to make them more entrenched in their positions.
And it holds us back, don't you feel?
Yeah, and it holds you us back
Mm,
too. It's
mm.
anything you put out comes straight back at you, really. You don't have to wait several lifetimes anymore. It's like you can choose who you hang out with or where you put your energy.
Yeah,
You don't have to be best friends with everyone.
yeah, yeah.
We're all different, but sometimes you can just the Akashic Records. Sometimes, when I've asked about a difficult relationship, there's always some sort of karmic thing from past lives, and it just helps you understand. And the more, what I have noticed is the more I'm in the energy of the records, I don't know, there's something now I can just, in my mind, just think, well, what's going on for them? And then I sort of flip into, I get their story, just comes into my head, and it's easier to just, be more compassionate and not so judging and everything. And I
Mm.
didn't used to have that ability.
Thank you so much, Chris. And tell us how we can contact you and find out more about your courses. And I will put those links into the
Oh no, that's
story
good.
notes.
So the
Yeah.
best way to keep in touch is probably my Facebook page, Chris Wilson, The Magic of the Akashic Records. The website's got everything on it, www.akashicreadingsnz.com. The books are available. This book here is coming out tomorrow. I'm going to get the audio book all finished.
Oh, great.
And what I'm going to put, I have to think about it, but at first I think it's going to be available on my website from the shop. Uh,
Great.
my book, the ebook versions are available from the shop. You can find, both books also, yeah, out there. Um, online, any online booksellers. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah, and the details of workshops and my email address and things are all on the website.
Great. Great. Thank you so much. I've just feel like I've learned a lot and had a little bit of a shift today. Yay. I hope other people have too. I hope that's happened. It's amazing. Thank you so much for that. It's very generous of you to do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And I knew as soon as you did, I knew your energy was, I thought, yeah, definitely doing that. So
Beautiful. Okay, Chris, lovely. And we'll
mhm,
see you again soon. I have a feeling you'll be back.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Anytime.